on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Motherfucker, he's on his...
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Listener discretion is advised. The show contains graphic language and depictions of violence. It may not be suitable for all audiences.
We say fuck a lot.
Hey guys, welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
With me as always.
Oh, by your side.
The Gomez to my Pugsley.
What?
Wait, huh?
No, it'd be your Morticia.
No, I'd rather be Pugsley.
I'm the yin to your yang.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds saucy.
I'm the sugar in your Kool-Aid.
The sugar in my coffee. The
Yeah.
cream in my coffee.
Yeah, I'm the cream in your coffee.
Dylan, I just want to take a moment. I think we owe our listeners an apology.
Yes, we do, definitely. I just read some stuff this evening that I was just like, oh my God, you know? What do we apologize
Were you going to
for?
elaborate? Because that doesn't even make sense.
No, I'm going to let you elaborate.
Well, okay. Last episode, we made some insensitive remarks about cults and cult members, people who get sucked into cults.
Yes, we've addressed this with the patrons in our Patreon episode, but we've yet to beg for forgiveness from the public.
Yeah, we were probably really heartless with some of the things we said. We're sorry. We're just like everybody else. Sometimes we say dumb shit.
Yeah, we're not always dead on or right or totally proper. Sometimes, a lot of times, we're not at all in certain ways. But we definitely have realized that some of our remarks about people who may or, be in a cult or pulled into a cult situation were rather insensitive. And they were just, it bears noting that we were just being a bit of assholes with that.
Yeah, we've had several listeners reach out and they're like, hey guys, love you, but here's the deal. And hey, we're big enough we can admit when we're wrong, so we're sorry. And really, I think I was just coming from a place of, I know personally that I probably couldn't get sucked into a cult, and here's why. I am incredibly distrustful of people in general. I probably trust you more than any person in my life.
Yeah, and that's not completely.
No, I trust you about as far as I could throw you.
Right.
I'm a very paranoid person.
But you trust me more than most.
No, it's true. I do. But, I'm just like naturally really paranoid when someone's really nice to me. Like if they were trying to love bomb me, I would immediately be like, okay, this person needs to go.
Well, I'm kind of the same. I don't like, crowds or new situations or new people so much. But, all that being, no matter how long we carry on about how we wouldn't personally do that or think we wouldn't because the way we're wired, there's a lot of people out there. People are different. People are coming from different places in their
Absolutely.
lives. They're looking for things like acceptance and love and things. And so that's how these groups do pull certain types of people in. And that doesn't make us better than those people.
No, if
and
anything,
I think that's where we...
No, we're just fucked up in our own way.
Yeah.
I'm like, I couldn't be in a cult. I never leave the house.
Yeah, it'd be a cult of me.
I have anxiety going to the grocery store. I can't imagine having to go to like a cult meeting or something.
Yes, but we had one Mountain Murder listener email us and tell... she actually... I hope she doesn't mind me sharing. I won't even say her name at this point. But this triggered her. She was connected to a cult. Like, for real. Because, I think... And even for me, I love seeing about cults. I'm very interested, and I'm, in it.
Well, yeah,
in the
we've
subject.
seen The Vow. We've watched
Looked,
several documentaries.
Yeah, all the big ones, Jim Jones, all that stuff kind of fascinates
Children
me.
of God.
But these are real people. These are real people that get, sucked into these cults. Anyway, this one listener said she was triggered almost to the point of, feeling physically ill by what we said. And that just kind of was, I was just like, damn, this is a podcast and it's a hobby and it's fun for us, but these are words that go out to everyone.
We don't want to make people feel bad.
Yeah. So anyway, definitely never our intention to make people feel bad. And so we're sorry for that.
She was willing to share her story with us, Dylan, and she said she would even be interested in having like an interview or a conversation with us so we could understand her perspective, where she's coming from, her story, and I think we would like to pursue that. So maybe we'll be able to, shed some light on it.
It will, and I don't think we'll be the only people that can learn from a conversation like that.
Well, no.
I think a lot of other people don't understand and kind of maybe have these stigmas and stereotypes in their heads of what kind of people this happens to.
So we're sorry.
Y'all, sorry.
We'll wrap that up. We've been rambling a couple minutes. You're probably like, okay, guys. Listener stories. This is episode 104. We have got some great listener stories. Our last episode was wildly popular. People loved it, and they have submitted some more listener stories for us. We're very excited. We're trying to add a weekly mini episode
Yeah, that's
to the
going to be fun.
podcast.
Yeah.
So up until now, we've been putting out like one show a week. We've been producing a show a week, and we may have an opportunity to add a little extra here and there, but we would really like to be able to bring you 2 episodes every week.
Yeah, we think about something in the middle of the week, whatever day we decide on.
Like maybe publishing on Wednesday, so you get your true crime on Sunday, and then Wednesday you get a little bonus.
Yes, a little bonus, maybe some current event stuff, maybe something goofy. Who knows what we might talk
Maybe
about.
some weird stuff, some spooky stuff.
Yeah, it's and here we are at almost at Halloween, so we're in October, a good spooky month.
Which I thought was a great opportunity for more listener stories.
Yes, we have some great ones today. Enjoyed the other ones, and yeah, anyone who has a good weird story, a scary story, or just a really messed up story, or a funny one.
Something funny.
It doesn't matter to
Yeah.
us because you guys tickle us to death.
We love getting those. Yeah, you can always email us, mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com. Send in a story. We would love to hear from you, and we will read it on an episode. Also, quick announcement, and then we're going to get into these stories. We have a live show coming up. It's a little short notice, but with COVID and the venue and moving into phase 3 of the governor's plan, we kind of had some jumbled dates and we weren't sure about the venue. But it's all worked out, Dylan.
Oh my God.
So we have a live show coming up October 23rd, less than 2 weeks away.
Oh my God.
It's at the auditorium in Asheville. It's an 8 p.m. showtime, and it will be an outdoor event. They are going to be following social distancing protocols. It is kind of like a first-come, first-served basis, so I would recommend getting tickets ahead of time. And there's a Facebook event. If you look up the auditorium, you can click, there's an event, you can get tickets there. I'm also going to add that ticket link to our Instagram. In the bio, we have a link tree with several different links you can click. I'm going to make sure we put tickets on that link so that's easy to access. And we'll be pushing out more information just through social media, Twitter, Facebook. So make sure you get your tickets. If you're in the Western North Carolina area, come see us at the auditorium in Asheville. We love the auditorium.
Oh, it's such a great place.
It's one of our favorite venues.
Yeah, I can't wait to see people again.
I know, right?
I'm so excited.
We're going to be talking about some interesting true crime cases. So you want to join us. It's going to be really fun. Dylan, you have the honor of kicking off our listener stories. Are you ready? He's not ready.
I am ready. And I'm sorry, my daughter just tweeted me. I normally wouldn't.
Okay, well, how about I start us off with my listener story?
No, she you know what my daughter just texted me. I just caught my eye. I normally wouldn't be looking at my phone. The guy who played Black Panther is dead. I'm like, honey, where the hell have you been at?
He died like a month ago or something.
What rock has she been hiding under?
I don't know.
In her room?
What are we going to do with these kids?
What the freaking hell? Are
I
you
don't
kidding
know.
me? So yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So I do have a great story to kick off with.
You do? Okay, I was
Yes.
thinking I was going to have to tell my listener story.
No.
Can I tell them, just real quick, can I tell them about my horror story?
In the bathroom?
Yeah.
Yes, you can tell that.
Okay.
What the
It's
fuck?
not what you're thinking, guys.
When you told me the story, I was like, who does
So
this?
this is my horror story. I'm going to tell you guys real quick because it's so fucking bizarre. I guess it's been what, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
That you went to Michigan.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever, I had to drive to Michigan to pick up my son. I'm driving up there. I'm trying to do a quick turn and burn trip. Basically drive up, spend the night, drive right back down the next day. It was very exhausting.
Yeah, it's a good, 10 hours?
It's like an 18-hour drive in like a 36-hour period or something.
Boo.
Yeah. So my first day, I'm driving through Ohio, and it's pouring rain. which sucks. And the visibility was terrible. I couldn't see like 2 inches in front of the car. Traffic everywhere. It's just pouring rain. And I had been stuck in traffic and I was just so fucking aggravated. Then I have to piss, right? But I don't want to pull over just anywhere because I've been in this traffic. I'm like in the city. I'm in what is that city? Dayton, just above Cincinnati. And I didn't want to stop there. I was like, no, I'm going to keep going. You know, I'm going to find like a rest area. Surely there's one up ahead. Okay. Finally get to a rest area after some miles. Ohio, you need more rest areas. I pull over at the rest area. I'm like, oh, I've had like 2 20-ounce coffee drinks. So I had to go.
You're about to bust.
My back teeth were floating, as they say.
So you've been thinking about peeing for about 30, 40 miles.
Oh, yeah. My kidneys were like, please go.
Right.
Go to the bathroom. I walk in, you know, typically in a rest area, there's like the 2 separate like entrances for the women's or in the men's as well. Okay. So I'm like, oh, I'll go in this side, whatever, go on the left side. There's no one in there. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, typically it's crowded. I was kind of grossed out anyway because of like COVID and everything.
Well, yeah. And I might fart when I pee, so I don't want anybody in here.
Okay.
That's what you were thinking.
Sure.
Because you had to pee so bad.
Thanks. Yeah, that's exactly it. I go in, there's no one. I'm like, oh, good. It's, you know, I'm not going to be like around people. And I have like a really shy bladder. I should mention that. Just ask anyone who's ever tried to give me a urinalysis in the military, and they will tell you that if someone is watching me, I cannot go.
Oh, if they're just near, it's messing with you, right?
It freaks me out.
Okay.
Right? And so that's why I kind of also have public bathroom issue, right? Because I don't want to be in near people when I'm trying to pee. Okay, so I'm dying. I'm like, oh. So I get into my derby girl squat, and I'm hovering. I'm doing the hover. I'm pretty good at it. Got them strong thigh muscles. Then, all of a fucking sudden, I see an eyeball pressed against the stall. Like where the door, there's the crack, right?
Yeah.
Like about 1.5 inch crack.
Yeah.
There's a fucking eyeball staring in at me. I was like, and then I see a tiny hand like trying to come through the crack. Little hand. And then under the stall, I see a little hand.
Oh.
And then I hear, Mommy.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, about to be, oh God, it's not going to come out. There's a kid. This kid's looking at me. I'm freaking out. And I was like, I'm not your mommy. And then the kid's like, Mommy, did you wipe yet?
And you're just like any second expecting mommy to be like, hey, I'm here. Or leave that person and don't worry, I'm here, honey.
Yeah.
I'll help you.
I hear nothing, right? Crickets. I was like, oh my God. So I'm trying to get this kid like shoot away. I'm like, I'm not your mommy. Go. I'm trying to like get her to move. Well, at least she takes her eyeball away from the little peephole she's found.
Okay.
Right? So I'm like dying. Finally go. I'm trying to get out of there as fast as I can. I basically have to shove this kid out of the way.
So she's still there at the door.
She's standing right at my door. So when I try to open the door, it like hits her and then she's not moving. And I was like, excuse me, and had to kind of push this kid. So she's maybe 4, left unattended in this bathroom. Then I see feet. So I know her mother's in there. Her mother's completely ignored her the entire time.
Never said a word.
No. So then the kid just looks up at me and I was thinking she'd be like, oh shit. But she just smiled like, hey. I was like, oh my God. I go quickly, like wash my hands as fast as I can and get out of there. And right as I leave, you call me and I tell you the story. But that's like my worst nightmare.
Well, I couldn't imagine.
Is dealing with an unattended child that's not mine.
Right.
Right? A peeping eyeball watching me pee.
Well, yeah, that's be the part that messed me up.
I don't like either of those things.
No.
So that is my horror story for this October.
Just get your kid. I reckon
Mommy, did you wipe yet?
Maybe she had some earbuds in or something and couldn't hear the kid.
I don't know.
Been drowning this kid out.
I was thinking, man, anybody could snatch this kid up or something.
That's crazy because, I mean, being in you're in a public bathroom. You're literally directly on the interstate where it's designed for people to whip in and out of very quickly and efficiently. I would be on full alert if I was there with my 4-year-old. I mean, I just would be. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, not to mention that, one, that's a total invasion of my privacy. And as a parent, I think you always want to teach your kid boundaries.
Especially with people outside their family.
And to respect, like, other people. Exactly. And two, I'm thinking, what if I had been doing something crazy in there and this kid had gotten a big eye full of something really bizarre?
Yeah, you're in there shooting up dope or something.
Something.
Or, like, with, like, 6 dudes and, like, y'all are playing chess and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she would have saw someone do a checkmate.
What if I was getting busy in the bathroom
Yeah, I mean, a lot.
with myself or another person?
Or
Anyway.
five people.
Yeah. I mean, if a girl's lucky. But yeah, what a crazy situation. I don't know.
Well, there's your wild story. It's
yeah,
pretty
so
wild.
that's my contribution. I'm ready for your listener story, Dylan. Please share with us.
Okay. I have a pretty good one right here.
It is great.
Yeah, this is from Karen. She identifies as Big Karen.
Hey, Big Karen.
Hey, Big Karen.
We love Big Karen.
At the age of 52, I achieved my goal of getting my wings and becoming a flight attendant. This followed on the heels of my retirement after a 25-year career as a registered nurse. Like many, I was enamored of perceived glamour of the travel industry. Within my grasp was an exhilarating dream come true of discovery of new, sometimes unheard of destinations, chic uniforms, and fascinating travelers. No more bedpans and crabby patients for me. I was about to discover the alluring life of a flight attendant for myself. Not surprisingly, my new employment was not with a world-famous Not surprisingly, my new employment was not with a world-famous intercontinental company, but a startup, modest regional concern. Never mind that, it wasn't top drawer. I was thrilled knowing I'd be flying. Uniforms, too, fell short of the mark. I love the description of the uniforms. I found myself in navy blue pants, not unlike any of those worn by security guards, paired with bright-colored polo shirts.
Ooh.
That sounds amazing.
As someone who spent quite a few years wearing a pair of navy blue dungarees in the military, I have to say, it's such a sexy look, especially if they have pleats.
It's very comfortable.
No.
The shirts clash shockingly with my carrot top hair.
Because she had a yellow shirt, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Bright, or all the brightly colored polo shirts you could imagine. It's the bright blue and yellow and pinks, I guess. And maybe a mint green if you're lucky.
Okay.
Still, they offered a place to accommodate my new wings. My destinations weren't far-flung, but a gal had to start somewhere. We were placed on an on-call status and began flying short hops. I loved every second. About the fifth or sixth time I was called, I was told to bring a bag. This was an overnight trip. I would be working with my gay friend Corey, who was a veteran of several years as a flight attendant and with an international carrier. He was self-assured without being cocky, friendly, and good-humored, and most importantly, seasoned. Our destination, though, was disappointing and lackluster. We were headed for the Quad Cities. This is a group of 5, in spite of the word quad, cities, 3 in northwest Illinois and 2 in southeastern Iowa. Sounds like a real hoot.
Woohoo! Yeah.
Never mind, this was the most memorable airplane trip I ever took.
Exotic locales?
Yes, all over the Midwest. Or is that the Mideast?
What?
It's the Midwest, yeah.
Somebody help me.
I can read.
I'm blinking twice because I need help.
No,
Okay.
really, I can read.
Okay, go ahead.
Sometimes.
Proceed.
Only a couple of the 137 seats on our Boeing 737 were empty as Corey and I boarded passengers, so it sounds like a pretty full flight. We boarded for the early evening flight. With the exception of a garrulous 30-something, in the very last row, it was a subdued crowd. During our safety presentation, the last row blonde was loud and laughing and disruptive.
Like that, you think?
God, that was all those things.
Yeah.
You're a loud blonde who was very disruptive just now. Oh my God. Okay. So
I'm sorry, did you lose your train of thought?
Yeah, thanks.
Would you like me to do it again?
No.
Okay.
I would be working the back of the plane, so I'd have to keep an eye on her. We had a full plane and no time to babysit an adult. Once in flight, I was preparing my drink cart at the back, and I saw that she was being quite flirtatious and provocative with the men on either side of her.
Hey, sailor, you're looking for a good time.
Well, put your vagina away. We just put our seatbelts on. Initially, I thought she was traveling with them, but shortly realized that she wasn't.
She's just a hoe. Sorry.
What song is that?
I don't know. I just made it up.
A passenger a few rows up turned on her call out, and I attended to her. Upon my return, the man in the aisle seat told me that she had taken 3 mini bottles of vodka off the drink cart.
Gulp, gulp, gulp,
Oh
gulp.
my God. I bet she's just like, what the hell am I having to deal with right here?
Ooh, Yeah, I'm feeling a little woozy on the plane.
I quietly told her that returning them would save an encounter later with members of the ATF, which of course is the the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. She handed them to me and said loudly, "You red-headed bitch."
You red-headed bitch! Hello, bitch.
You don't tell me what to do. Now everyone is aware of her and her drunkenness.
You ain't my boss. Okay.
At 30,000 feet, there's nowhere to go.
God, this is a fucking nightmare.
I will say, before I finish, there is some rather colorful language ahead, and I apologize if it offends anyone. I'm going to read the words, but I've got to just put it out there.
How about you don't? Just imply what it's saying, perhaps. No?
Maybe.
Okay. All right,
no, I
then
will. No, I guess you're right.
I don't know. It's pretty bad, but I mean,
Yeah, I guess
you
that
can
one
say
is.
it. We're telling people at a time. I mean, this is not us. This is not our words. This is this crazy drunk blonde woman who's not me on a plane.
Right, and I just think you need to hear it because of the shock value.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I guess.
Okay, so I hope this isn't bad.
Forgive us again.
Okay, so we already had. The first time she's been, told to return stolen merchandise and alcohol at that on an airplane. She calls Karen a redheaded bitch.
Right.
Right. So this is not a cool person. Okay. You redheaded bitch, you don't tell me what to do. Now everyone is aware of her and her drunkenness. At 30,000 feet, there's nowhere to go. I refused to give her alcohol, which I don't blame her, and she became quite verbally abusive to the passengers around her and, of course, to me. When I reported it to Corey, he said he'd talk to her. He diplomatically explained that she was disturbing other passengers. She yelled at him to shut up and cursed loudly on and off for the next hour. She was drunk and probably ingesting heaven only knows what else. About 15 minutes before landing, she got up and went to a seat at the front. She didn't sit down, though, just continued her ranting.
So you skipped over what she said to Corey?
No, it comes at the end.
Oh.
Yeah, that was Corey's first encounter with trying to calm her down.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I thought so, too. She didn't sit down and just continued her ranting. A woman in the row behind her said, "Please don't talk like that in front of my little girl." Without hesitation, she yelled, "Fuck you and fuck your little girl."
Damn.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine everybody else on this plane? Like, are you kidding me?
I can't believe somebody didn't, lay this bitch out.
She kept standing up even when we were giving landing instructions. As we descended, Corey asked her to sit down. She remained standing and yelled, "Shut up, you fucking gay slur." Okay, I'll just say that. Shut up, you fucking...
Yeah, I think people probably know.
Yeah, rhymes with maggot. Okay, so here we go. And I know you take it up the ass.
Well, who doesn't?
My God. When a plane goes below 10,000 feet, cockpit crew are to avoid any non-essential tasks to concentrate on the landing progress. At this point, Corey reported to the pilot that we had a passenger who wouldn't sit down, and the first officer came out of the cockpit to make her sit down. She cursed at him, but did sit down. She had created an atmosphere of anxiety among the other passengers.
Yeah, I bet so.
I'm sure. And probably some people wanting to whoop her ass, right?
Landing always stresses me out anyway.
Yeah, I know, and that's what the crew's dealing with that, but here's the first officer back here talking to this crazy lady. As soon as we landed, the pilot requested that the passengers remain seated. As the door opened, in came the feds as well as local law enforcement. Loud cheering and applause greeted them as they took her to the front of the plane. As she was standing near the door in view of everyone, she pulled up her skirt and, you guessed it, no panties. As she was being restrained, she managed to bite the sheriff on the arm. Naturally, he was transported to the ER for treatment. Human bite wounds are very dangerous because of the amount of bacteria in the mouth.
Jeez.
When she was gone, the other passengers deplaned. Some were asked by law enforcement to make statements, and once they were gone, the feds say they were separating the crew so we could write down accounts of what we had experienced. Some 45 minutes later, we were taken to the hotel. It was very late and no one was hungry, but the captain insisted we all have a Coke together. We sat down in the why can I say that? The deserted restaurant and asked for Cokes. Everyone was exhausted. I think we may have been in shock. No one said a word. Unbidden, a thought came to my head that I couldn't resist sharing. I laughed a little and sang, I bit the sheriff, but I did not bite his deputy. At the end of this whole episode.
Okay, that's good.
To the whole crew. That was
wow, what a nightmare. Because you are trapped with these people and you're 30,000 feet in the air and there is nowhere to go. And so if you're on a plane with someone who's behaving badly,
yeah,
what a nightmare.
Dude, that was like that big guy who was like super big, like 400 or 500 pounds, insisting that the crew wipe his ass. And he had used the bathroom on the plane in the air and was like, I'm not leaving until someone wipes me or helps me wipe.
Is that a real story?
That's a real story. That's a true story.
Why do we have so many bathroom stories?
Well, that's just a real story I've heard before as far as plane things go. But could you imagine the scene this is causing?
No.
Well, that woman was very rude.
She was.
To everyone, including the little girl.
I kind of can't believe someone didn't, put her in a sleeper hold or something.
I guess in those situations, people are just afraid of, repercussions towards them as well,
Yeah, I guess so. Are you ready for another listener story, Dylan? This is a good one. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You look excited.
I'm excited that I apologize to anyone out there who thinks I read like a moron, or I'm just not very good at reading, I should say.
Reading aloud.
Reading aloud. That's it.
We'll practice.
In my brain, I read really fast.
I'm such a good wife. I read books aloud to Dylan, and I even do voices for the characters. You're so lucky to have me.
You should read that one excerpt of that book live to the listeners.
I don't know if they would appreciate it as much as you do.
I think they would. But anyway, what's your second story?
Okay. This story takes place in 2016. My best friend Chad was getting married. It was my job as best man to plan the bachelor party. Now, I know you're probably thinking strip clubs and booze, but that wasn't really our thing. I planned a backpacking trip for the weekend before the wedding. I chose a spot, Sheltoe Trace, maybe I'm saying that correctly, which is more appropriate for a section hike. The trail runs from northeast Kentucky down to North Tennessee. I had chosen a part that would take us along the Red River area. If things went as planned, we would be hiking about 19 miles in 3 days, which, not to brag, but was kind of small potatoes for us. Me and my 6 buddies trekked into the woods. Everything was fine. Our first day and night were fine. Our second night, we set up our camp, fixed some supper, sat around the campfire, passing around some whiskey. I had a bit of a buzz, but I wasn't drunk. I'm going to guess I turned in around 11:30. By about 2 a.m. or so, I woke up needing to relieve myself as the whiskey wasn't working anymore. I unzipped my tent, I struggled to put my headlamp on, and then staggered around looking for a good spot to take a leak. I'm doing my business when I hear a noise behind me. I didn't think much of it until I turned around, and the beam of my light caught a glimpse of a gigantic creature.
Oh my God.
It was 8 to 10 feet tall with long, lanky arms. It looked like it was covered in hair, and now I've never believed in Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I'm an outdoorsy guy. I've never seen anything like this. Now, for a moment, it tilted its head at me, and I froze in fear. Then it took off running into the woods. I shouted my buddies awake, much to their annoyance, to tell them what I'd just seen. We gathered our flashlights and did a bit of a perimeter search, kind of around the campsite and a little bit into the tree line, but there was no sign of this animal.
What the hell?
My life was forever changed, and the next day walking out of the woods was rough as I didn't get much sleep after the sighting.
Well, I guess not.
Wow.
Would you be able to sleep?
No.
I mean, it's already kind of eerie, You're way out a trail and, in the woods, been hiking all day. Probably hardly seen anybody.
No, we haven't had
friends.
A good cryptid story, so thanks. That was sent in by Dan.
Dan, I'm sure that people would hear you tell that story and be like, scoff and be like, oh, whatever. But you lived it, and if it happened exactly like you said, I wouldn't have been able to sleep, and I would be creeped out to this day about my experience.
Have you ever seen anything like that in the woods, like a Bigfoot or like a cryptid type of creature?
No, I can't say that I have.
I've never seen anything like that.
No, I've never had any experience
But
like
I always
that.
find it interesting to hear when people have had those experiences.
Well, I mean, I know your eyes can play tricks on you. It happens to me all the time at work in the dark parts of where I work in the mill or the basement, like shadow people, I call it. It's really just light, like reflecting or a steam cloud or, you got safety glasses on. That's really what I tell myself that's what it is.
Well, you've sent me video from the basement where it's so dark.
Right.
Wow.
And you got steam blowing out of pipes.
Perfect spot for a horror film.
And it's like hot and it's weird and there's things dripping and there's all kinds of pipes. And,
Ew.
Yeah.
There's stuff dripping.
There's slime too. And there's huge roaches.
I was gonna say, didn't you tell me there were like these gigantic palmetto type bugs
they love. No, these are German cockroaches, bigger than you've ever seen them.
Oh, good Lord. They're like mutated
Because they eat that starch and shit. Yeah, and they're just monster roaches. And then you just look over and the roach will be like, "Hey, what's up?" And you're like, "Oh, fuck."
It's like smoking a cigar.
Hey, Terry. I didn't know you were back from vacation. How's the missus?
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, thanks, Dan. Thanks for that story.
Do you have some other story for us?
Yes, I do. I have another great story from one of our incredible listeners.
They're all incredible.
They are. Every one of you are so smart to click on a Mountain Murders link. I'll tell you what. Okay, this story comes to us from Britt.
Well, hit us with your best
Yes,
shot, Dylan.
so here we are. This is Britt's story. Mountain Murders, you guys are by far my favorite podcast. She sounds like a really educated, very smart person.
I like you, Britt.
I love Britt. I love the banter between you and Heather, and I have a story about the time we lived in an old house we called Little Hell.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. I was a kid around 8 years old at the time, and my parents were divorcing, which is sad. They sold our home, so my mom found this rental until we could buy another house. My family, my mom, older sister, and myself experienced unexplainable things. First, my sister, who is 2 years older than me, suffered sleep paralysis and night terrors, which sounds horrifying to me. Have you ever had, sleep paralysis is common.
Yeah, I experienced like a sleep paralysis where I felt like I was awake but couldn't move.
Right, and it's
pretty frightening.
Just your body does that when you go to sleep so you don't hurt yourself in the dream state and all that. I think people are familiar with that, but not night terrors. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard a bit about night terrors.
Yeah, I think and it sounds really scary. She had not had a night terror for like 2 years until we moved into that house. One night my sister was screaming bloody murder. My mom ran into her room to check on her. My sister finally settled down enough to say she had dreamed someone was trying to shove a red coat hanger down her throat.
What?
Oh my God. The insane part is there was a red plastic coat hanger on the doorknob of her closet. None of us owned any red plastic hangers in the house. My mom always bought white hangers. This continued until we left. And my sister stopped having night terrors altogether. My mom was in the bathtub and she felt something pull her down in the water. A few guests would say that they thought someone was looking out from the attic window. The attic was closed off.
Oh, geez.
Oh, my God, this is some creepy stuff. There was an attic access door in this weird closet in our hallway where my mom kept sheets, towels, and the vacuum. The door had 3 boards nailed across it. We couldn't get up there. Nah, that would weird me out. That would totally weird me out right there. Our kitchen cabinets would open and close on their own. I remembered being sick. My mom went to the store to buy me some chicken soup. While I was half asleep, I felt someone covering me up with a blanket, and then a hand stroked my hair. But no one was in the house. We lived in the house for about another 5 months, and my mom bought another house as soon as possible. Britt.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That's creepy.
Dude, all that stuff is like super scary.
It's like a creepy ass story. Can you imagine being in a bathtub and feeling like someone was pulling you in, like, down in the tub?
No, even if there was some other explanation for that, just that sensation that turned out later. No, I would be totally scared to death feeling someone pulling me into the water.
I feel like it would also be very strange to have like one of those attic doors, but have boards nailed across.
Yeah.
So like why? I mean, I guess I can understand, hey, maybe the flooring up there is not great. You wouldn't want people up there or something.
Well,
but...
and if it's a rental or whatever, there's no reason for them to be up there really kind of thing. But still, it would add to the creepy element, right? Having it nailed across like it's been secured.
Strange.
And then people claiming they see somebody in the window up there, but you can't go up there and look.
I would want to know more about the history of the house.
Yeah, I know.
That's just how I operate. I have a very fascinating story, Dylan.
Oh, yeah?
Are we ready to get started?
Yes, I
So
am
this
ready.
story comes from Julie. When I was around 10 years old, I would get off the school bus at my great aunt's house in the afternoons. I would have to walk through an apple orchard, through a senior mobile home park, and up a hill to my grandmother's house. One afternoon, I had walked through the orchard and came to the mobile homes that I passed to get to the stairs that would climb up to my grandmother's backyard. On this day, there was a van outside one of the mobile homes with 3 to 4 men I didn't recognize walking around in and out of one of the trailers. As I was walking up, I saw the older couple that lived there being beckoned to get into this van. They appeared scared, holding on to each other as they climbed into the vehicle,
Oh my God.
and not saying a word to the men. No one saw me, and I hid behind one of the neighboring mobile homes, peeking around the corner at what was going on. I saw the guys carrying stuff, and one of them had something in his hand that, at the time, I thought could have been a gun. After a few minutes, I thought one of them almost saw me, so I left and ran to my grandmother's house. I was so nervous, I didn't take the stairs up the hill because they were in view of the men, but took the long way around, so I was out of sight. I got to my grandmother's house and told her what I saw, and that she had to call the police. She brushed it off, told me I must have seen something else, and that was that. Well, when I was about 7, I had seen a man walking into my grandmother's house with... I'm sorry. When I was about 7, I had seen a man walking into my grandmother's house with a ski mask on, not realizing at the time that it was my grandfather. So as a kid, I knew that people wore ski masks when they committed crimes, so I assumed the worst and ran all the way to my great aunt's house to tell her she had to call the police because someone in a ski mask had broken into my grandmother's house. After that incident, they were probably not going to take any story that started with, "You have to call the police," seriously, from me. I never heard anything else about the incident in the mobile home park. I never remember seeing the couple again, and no one ever spoke about a crime. Many of the seniors that lived in the park spent the majority of the year in Florida and would come to stay in the spring and summer, so the couple not being seen could easily be explained with this, but I've always wondered if I saw something more.
Oh my gosh. I mean, from what she's describing, that's something you would pay attention to, That doesn't seem normal.
It did kind of make me laugh that she had her aunt call the police and it was her grandfather.
So her street cred was already in the toilet.
Yes.
As far as you must call the police right now.
Yes.
Okay. Not very reliable witness.
Do you have another story for us, Dylan?
Yes, I do. Yes, I have another story by Kayla. I think Kayla brought us the black eye woman story in our last episode. Thank you, Kayla, for the multiple submissions.
We love it.
We love it. And we're going to take you up on that beer when we're out your way. In August of 2019, my best friend and I took a weekend trip to Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston is one of my favorite cities, and I love the history and have visited many times, so I was excited to share one of my favorite places with my friend. We wanted to do a walking ghost tour one evening during our stay. I had taken a few different ghost tours with different companies, so I wanted to try a new company out and get a different perspective. I booked with a smaller company with good reviews. The owner/guide had apparently participated in various paranormal investigations and had a podcast about paranormal happenings. I was relieved that he wasn't going to be just an actor reading from a script. We met for the tour, and the group was relatively small, less than 10 people. Before the tour began, the guide goes around the group to ask where everyone is from. When we tell him we are from Asheville, he says, "Oh, I had something terrible happen to me near there," and kind of chuckled. Okay, not the normal response when you tell people where you're from, right? During the tour, which was one of the best I'd taken, my friend and I hung back, taking extra time to take in every detail of the city as we walked. Afterward, I go to tip the guide and thank him, and I say, "Oh, I'm sorry you had a bad experience in Asheville." To which he replied, "It was kind of my own fault. I was driving with a Ouija board in the car," he said.
Okay.
Okay.
All great stories start out with this.
I had to hear this story. He said he was driving from Kentucky back to Charleston with this old Ouija board in the trunk. Apparently, he had used it in some sort of an investigation. He was driving back and had to take a detour off of I-40 through Newport, Tennessee. Then this guy asked if we'd ever heard of Marshall, North Carolina. I was immediately freaked out because that's where I grew up, This man had a car accident on Highway 208 north of Asheville on his detour. What are the odds that this guy had this happen to him in my hometown? The Ouija board aspect was creepy, but not as creepy as it was for this total stranger to tell me that he had a horrible accident while detouring through the pretty desolate stretch of road from my childhood. There was no way this man could have known that, and even if he were messing with us, the address on my payment method was a Nashville address, and he would have no way of connecting me to the area that his accident took place.
Wow.
Man,
coincidence.
What a small world, huh?
It is a small world.
It's funny how when things like that happen. You know what I mean? Like you're 10 hours from home or 15 hours from home, and then you see someone who's like from your exact area or something like that. You ever had anything like that happen?
Yeah, it's always really interesting.
Yeah.
You like bump into someone and find out that they know a person you know, or they're from your area.
Yeah, it's just a happenstance you struck up a conversation with this random stranger.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's weird.
Next story, Dylan.
What do you got for us?
Okay, I'm going to read this email. I honestly can't get enough of your podcast. Well, thanks.
Wow, sounds like a very intelligent person.
I love your personalities. Well, thank you. The storytelling is great too. I'm not even a huge true crime fan, but my friend turned me on to mountain murders. You can use my real name. It's Deanna. Hi, Deanna.
Hello, Deanna.
I have a story I thought you'd want to hear about a Ouija board.
Again with the Ouija board of death.
Not to go into too much background, but my dad passed away when I was 13. Within the year, my mom moved us from New York to Raleigh, North Carolina, because she worked as a computer programmer, had gotten a good job there, thought we needed to change. I loved your Michael Peterson episode, I've Been by the House Where the Murder Took Place.
Oh, wow.
Back to the story. I was 14 and already suffered from some mild depression, self-esteem issues, etc. because of my dad. I was also a new girl in school. I had an older brother, but he was 17, too cool to hang out with me, and he had a car. Being the new girl, and I was from up north, I dressed differently, spoke differently, so I was not easily accepted. It took some time to make friends. A girl on my school bus was really nice, took me under her wing, and we've been best friends since. Melissa is my best friend. Awesome, Melissa.
Yeah. Well, that's quite different from New York to Raleigh, Durham area. And that'd be a pretty good culture change there.
The first time she invited me over to her house, I was over the moon. I desperately wanted friends and to fit in, finally. She was having a sleepover with 3 other girls or so, and I would probably make girl number 5. I would soon be more than happy to join this friend group, as they were all loving, funny, crazy girls. Someone brought a Ouija board to the sleepover. I wasn't even sure how to play with it. I'd never seen a Ouija board in person. We waited until it was around midnight to play. We turned off all the lights in Melissa's room except for a closet light. She had louvered doors with slats so we could see the light coming into the room. She had a lava lamp on. I guess we thought this was going to add ambiance, ?
Can we agree those louver closet door are creepy?
They are a bit creepy.
They're just creepy, bro. The way they make light bend and everything else. It's just, yeah. And the fact that someone could be on the other side looking at you. Sorry.
So they've got their lava lamp on, and we had lit several of her mother's Yankee candles. So the room smelled like apple cinnamon. Okay. We gathered around the board while one friend told us how we were supposed to place 2 fingers on the planchette and then ask questions. I can't remember exactly what was said, but someone opened the dialogue with something like, "Spirit world, we're reaching out to talk to you." Well, we waited for a few seconds, but nothing happened. I was like, this isn't working. Hopeful, my friends kept going, and then we felt the thing moving. It circled around. Melissa asked, "Who's with us?" And the planchette moved across the board. It spelled John, Jon. I had not told the girls, but my father's name was John without an H. Okay, I'm getting goosebumps.
Oh, no.
I got really scared. I took my fingers off. I don't want to do this anymore, I said. Of course, they wanted to know why, and I told them that my dad was John. He had died the year before. By now, everyone is wide-eyed, like, we have to keep going. They're like, "Let's do it, Dee. Put your fingers back on it." I reluctantly agree. I'm not going to say we grew up in a super religious household, but I knew my mother would be mortified. I mean, she was Christian, and she didn't like fortune-telling or anything of that nature. We continue on, and someone asks, "Is this Deanna's dad?" The planchette starts moving towards the yes on the board. Right before it made it there, the light went out in the closet. All the lights went out.
Oh, my God.
There was a power outage. Turns out somebody crashed into a pole down the block.
Damn.
I'd like to think it was just a strange coincidence. We never finished our Ouija board session that night. Melissa's mother ended up throwing the board in the trash after she discovered it and gave her a lecture on how dangerous those things are. Since then, I have not touched a Ouija board.
Oh, wow.
That's fucking crazy.
So, that is crazy. And I could understand her being like totally freaked out by that occurrence. But y'all, I'm always wondering who's pushing it. Because, all you can know is whether or not you're pushing it. And if you're not, and it's moving, and nobody else is pushing it because everybody says they're not, what's moving it?
I did read a Psychology Today article at some point about why the Ouija board moves or whatever.
Is it like subconscious from everybody involved?
Yeah, I think so.
Really? Just like you're doing some kind of light pressure? You're not actively...
it seems to be like people aren't actively trying. I mean, some people may be actively trying to push it, but it seems more like it's a subconscious thing. But how strange that it spelled her dad's name.
Oh, no. Well, if I was in her circumstances, I had unfortunately lost my father, and, around a year ago, and then that happened. No. I mean, come on.
I've heard other stories from people about using the Ouija board and having some strange or wild thing that happens, but I've never really had any experiences with a board.
No, I've not personally had anything happen.
Do you have another story for us, Dylan?
I shall read one more. Okay, this is The Shadow People in the Farmhouse.
Oh, God.
By Miss Bridget.
Okay.
Thank you, Bridget. She's another very smart person. Hi, Heather and Dylan. I love y'all's podcast so much and recently binged all the episodes. I'm so hooked.
Bridget, you are a queen.
Thank you. Yes, queen, yes. You made a podcast a while ago about ghost stories from listeners. So I had to beg my boyfriend to retell a terrifying story from his childhood. So here it is. As a child, he was raised in North Carolina by a single mother. This specific story takes place in a strange old 2-story concrete farmhouse they moved into in Marshall, North Carolina. That sounds creepy, right? Big concrete.
Marshall is where Kayla grew up.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, I know.
So we have two. What are the chances?
What's going on
Two people from Marshall sending us stories.
What's going on in Marshall?
It's just like serendipitous or something.
No, it's out there. Right?
Yeah.
It's out there, and there's not a whole lot of...
It's in Madison County, bro.
It's not very dense population. And some of the winding roads where it winds down to the river there at Walnut.
Our Nancy Morgan episode takes place in Madison County.
Oh my gosh. So here we are in Marshall again. My boyfriend was about 8 years old at the time in 2006. His bedroom was in the upstairs of the home and at the end of a very long hallway. Okay.
He was 8 or was he like 18?
He was 8 years old at the time.
Okay. Wow, he's young. Are we old?
I think they're just trying to point out we're old.
Okay.
They're ages.
I'm like, 2006? Wasn't that just like 2 years ago?
Thanks, Bridget.
Sorry.
Wow, we love you, Bridget, and your boyfriend. So his bedroom's already got you set up to be creeped out.
Okay.
Okay, don't you think? His bedroom's is upstairs of this big farmhouse, which has concrete walls, which creeps me out for some reason, and at the end of a very long hallway. The house was built on top of a hill, and his bedroom window looked over the nearby cow pasture.
At least he has a nice view.
That sounds pretty awesome. Very soon into moving into the house, he felt something was off. He remembers waking up regularly in the middle of the night to multiple dark figures staring at him through the cracks of his bedroom door.
Oh my God, it's like the little kid in the eyeball. Maybe that was like a tiny shadow person.
Maybe he was like, I'm not your mommy.
I'm not your mommy, kid.
If I was in your shoes, I'd be like, Jesus, kid, I'm not your mommy.
What would you do if you saw shadow people staring at you?
Shit myself. Like, for reals. Okay. Once he even saw 3 figures staring deeply at him. They were creepy, black shadow figures with long, skinny arms. He says he always felt they were talking about him and watching him. He would see them and stare until he was too scared to look anymore, then burying his face into his bed to hide until he fell back asleep. He never remembers them coming in his room, but he always felt they were watching and lurking through the crack of the door. Oh my God. So they're always right outside the door, or you can see, oh, Jesus.
It's like Rockwell's song. I always feel like somebody's watching me.
After first seeing them, he began sleepwalking regularly. He and his mother lived there for a little over a year, but once they moved out, his sleepwalking stopped. He sadly doesn't have many details about the house history or if his mom ever experienced these events as well. If I ever find out more, I'll be sure to tell.
Wow. Well, that's like the girl in the story. Her sister had the, was it sleep paralysis and the night terrors.
Yeah.
And then when she moved out of the house, she didn't have them again.
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe there's some energy connected to the house.
Just like this guy's sleepwalking. And that's pretty, wow.
So I was talking to him about the stories from the podcast, or ones with people who have solid black eyes, which Kayla had given us before, and he lightly mentioned his story. So, of course, I had to ask him for as many details as possible to send it in. We're in Denver. If you ever come out to North Carolina for a visit to family, we hope there will be a live show happening nearby so we can pop in for a night of fun true crime. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, if we ever take a trip to Denver, we'll let you know.
Hey. Yeah, I need some friendly people out in Denver.
Smoke weed every day. Okay.
Oh, Nate Dogg knew what was up.
Okay.
Thank you, Bridget, for that.
I have a great one.
Oh my God, could you imagine even having the feeling of someone's peeking through your damn door lock?
No, I don't want to see a shadow person. I don't like little eyeballs
Bro, that sounds
staring through the door at me. I'm not going to want a shadow person to stare at the door at me.
Man, if I look anywhere and I see a fucking eye, like right up close, oh God, that's so scary.
Plus, if you feel like someone's always watching you in your house, I mean, how do you ever have any privacy? Like, what if I want to masturbate or something?
Oh my gosh. Well, then I guess you'd have to be in the dark or something.
And they're talking about you? See, that would just, I would be like, oh my God, what are they talking about me? And then it would just make me feel really insecure.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what? Do I have something in my face? This outfit looks really stupid, doesn't it?
Yeah, look at her. Look at those.
I don't like that. Okay, you're giving me anxiety.
I'm sorry. Yes, do you have another one for us?
Wow, this is something else.
Really?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I think you were telling me about this one.
Are you ready?
Yes.
You look ready.
I'm ready.
All right. I love this person already. Mountain Murders is the best true crime podcast out there.
Man, these people are some serious writers.
Thank you for stroking my ego. Maybe I'm picking favorites since y'all come from my neck of the woods. It's really good to hear stories from the mountains. Heather manages to tell a terrible murder story in a way that makes me feel like I'm sitting at the dinner table with a friend. Well, thank you. Dylan is so funny. He cracks me and my husband up. Keep up the good work. I've checked out your listener story show, and I've been meaning to send this one in about the time I was almost axe murdered.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry if this is too long. Feel free to shorten it if you need to. No way, never.
You said you couldn't edit this one at all, right?
No, I would not want to edit this.
No.
I would never want to edit any of them.
No, we didn't edit any of them.
Okay. My husband and I have been married for 16 years. We got married young, 21 and 23. And though we had a wedding, which we paid for, and even with both of us working, was just starting out as a nurse, and he was recently discharged from the military and going to school, we didn't have a whole lot of money for a honeymoon. We figured we'd save up, even if it was in 6 months, to take a trip. A guy he knew from the military, who was from Virginia, we live in Tennessee, by the way, offered to let us stay in his cabin for a couple of days. I'm a country girl, so it's not like I haven't spent time in cabins, but I guess this being my honeymoon and all, I had hoped we'd go someplace nice. My husband was thrilled because this meant being in the woods and he could go fishing. I had my heart set on a white sandy beach resort in the Bahamas. Anyway, I had no idea what to expect. When I thought cabin, I was like, oh, well, this is going to be like the rental cabins in Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg. Maybe there's a hot tub or a pool table. I pictured a beautiful log home with black bear decorations and a big fireplace. I was so wrong.
Oh, no. Because the other kind of cabin is not where you probably want to go on your honeymoon or hanging out with a romantic.
When we got to the area where the town, and she has that in quotation marks, so we got to the area where the town was, and I use this term loosely. It was just located off a state road. My husband told me we had to stop for some groceries. His buddy told him this was the only place we could stock up. So after buying enough food for a few days, we follow the 2-lane road around, which winds around for what seemed like miles. Then we turn onto a dirt road where there's nothing and no one around. My stomach is sinking with disappointment. I know I probably sound like a baby, but this was just not what I had in mind, free or not. Imagine my delight when we pull up, just married, to the Evil Dead cabin.
Oh my God. Yes. That's awesome in a way.
It's small, like I can't even call it a cabin. To call it rustic would be an understatement. It's like a log shack with a wood platform-covered porch. There's a stack of firewood on the porch and about 4 animal hides tacked up to the outside walls.
So it's basically like a hunting cabin.
That's what it sounds like.
It's just it's a shelter in the woods.
It's a shanty in the woods.
Oh,
Anybody
my
know any
gosh.
good mountain shanty songs?
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine?
I'm picturing what this looks like.
I am too.
I feel like I've seen this place before.
I've seen it as that kind of place it is.
The front of the place has no windows. It has a rusty metal roof. This shack looks like it was abandoned about 100 years ago. We find the key and go inside. It was dark, musty, dusty. There was an old metal bed in the corner, a wood cook stove, and in the back there's a tiny bathroom. There's an old table with chairs and a couch that looks like something someone dug out of a landfill. Poor girl. I try to turn on the lights, but they're not working. There's no phone. I'm like, what is going on? There's no power. My husband then surprises me that there's a generator out back we're supposed to use when we want to take a shower or turn on some lights to cook or whatever.
Wow. See, he could have led with that.
You've got to be kidding me. I'm almost in tears. I have no idea how to use a wood cook stove. This is all making me feel really upset. My husband assures me he knows how to use the cook stove. He finds some oil lamps, lights them for me. I mean, by this time it's like 5:30 in the afternoon, but already starting to get dark around us because there's so many trees. He says he's going to check the outbuilding where the generator is stored. I try to unpack the car. He comes back around and tells me he's probably going to have to go back into town to buy some more fuel for the generator.
What the fuck was that?
I don't know.
Okay.
So someone's throwing something out of the closet across the room? I have no idea. We have a ghost in our house, by the way.
Oh my gosh. Okay, see, now I'm fucking extra creeped out.
So maybe the ghost doesn't like the story, Dylan.
So he says he needs to go back in town to get fuel because there's not even fuel for the generator, which is their only source of electricity. Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
I like that you were like, he could have led with this.
Because that explains everything else.
It's so true.
But that's such a man thing to do right there.
It is.
Leave that part out.
Not
right?
that I'm stereotyping your gender, but I feel like I would experience the same thing.
I feel like I could end you up in this very situation.
Oh, you could. That's probably why it seems relatable. He also says he needs to buy a cooler box for our cold stuff because the place doesn't have a fridge. He asks me if I want to go, and I tell him no because we've been driving half the day. I'm tired, and I just want to chill out a little bit. He leaves me there to go back to town. I have flashlights and an oil lamp. I try to make myself as comfortable as possible, and thankfully, my mother suggested I pack my own sheets because the ones that were on the bed are disgusting. I'm pretty sure the mattress was about 100 years old. I unpack my pillow, blanket, sheets, make up the bed. Also, this bed is tiny. It's not even like a full-size bed.
Oh my gosh.
The queen-size sheets I brought are too big, so I have to stuff them in the corners under the mattress. There's no electricity, so after I finish unpacking and trying to clean up the place a little, I have nothing to do but wait. I walk outside, checking out the scenery. I determine once more we're out in the middle of fucking nowhere. I think to myself, well, I could sit out here on the porch, but there's not a chair.
Oh my gosh.
I drag one of the dining chairs outside. It's an old wooden straight back chair, so it's not very relaxing or comfortable. There are wind chimes on the porch, which is nice. At least there's some noise to distract me from my misery. I really want to put on a happy face, so I decide when Travis gets back, I'll just fake it till I make it. But he doesn't come back. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting for what seems like an eternity. In the meantime, the sun goes down. I'm starving. I start tearing into our snacks, but I really want real food. I'm also worried that this stuff has not been refrigerated and it's going to go bad. It's like 3 hours. 3 damn hours before Travis returns in his Jeep. I'm livid, and she has livid in all capitals.
Oh my God, it's Travis's ass.
He tells me he had to drive like 45 minutes away to the nearest real town where there was an actual Walmart to buy the stuff we needed. He had 2 cooler boxes, ice, extra lanterns, batteries, stuff we would likely need being out here with, and did I mention again, there's no fucking power. He gets the generator going long enough to make us dinner. We both get some showers. He builds a fire because it is starting to get cold. We were married in late September, so it's pretty cool at night. After all of this, the last thing I want to do is throw on the sexy lingerie my friends gave me at my wedding shower. My husband falls asleep pretty soon after his head hits the pillow. Sounds like someone else I know. But I couldn't sleep. We're out in the woods in the shack with no electricity. I can hear every sound. Wind whipping out in the woods, in the shack that has no electricity. There's the wind chimes making noise. I finally manage at some point to fall asleep. Now, the next day is as painful, but we managed to get in some fishing, which made Travis happy. Sorry. But when we drove back from our fishing adventure, the cabin door was wide open. Travis says, I thought I locked it. And I thought so too. He says, well, it's an old door. If I didn't shut it good, then, maybe the wind blew it open or something. No biggie. We made some dinner, hung out. That night, we ended up falling asleep again. So much for romance.
Oh my gosh. Damn it, Travis.
So, honeymoon, cabin, no nookie. At some point, I wake up. Travis is lying on his side, back to me, and I can hear him lightly snoring. I thought I saw a light outside. Then I hear what sounds like movement on the roof. I nudge Travis, who tells me it's probably mice. Great. A few minutes later, I hear what sounds like a car door closing. Well, I don't want to wake Travis up again, so I just lie there. Then I hear footsteps on the porch outside, creaking sounds. Now I'm scared. I hear what sounds like someone walking around in the leaves. There is a small window above where the bed sits, and the walls are so thin, you can literally hear everything outside. I want to die.
Oh my gosh. Now it's a distinct sound, people walking through dry leaves, even if it is an animal. So, yeah, it's hard to mistake that.
So she wants to die. I whisper to Travis, hey, I think there's somebody outside. He moans. I poke him. Wake up. I think there's someone outside. He sighs. Huh? I repeat myself. He's like, seriously? It's probably just a raccoon. I tell him I don't think so. He ignores me, returning to sleep fast again. It's pitch black in this cabin, but my eyes have adjusted and I can see in the darkness. I look over and I make out the couch, the table chairs. I can hear another noise outside this time. It sounds like a banging noise right by the window. I look up, and mind you, this window has to be like maybe 5 feet tall. I look up and see a man's face peeking in the window.
Oh my God.
I'm startled, but somehow manage to let out a scream. A blood-curdling scream that sends my new groom into a frenzy. Travis jumps up in bed asking, oh God, what? It's dark, so I don't know if he can see me, but I'm pointing to the window. By this time, of course, there's no face in the window. I squeak out, a man in the window. Travis shakes himself awake and is like, what? A man in the window. I keep telling him, there's someone outside. Travis is quick on his feet. He stumbles around looking for a flashlight. He flips it on, he scrambles, but manages to find his Ruger that he keeps in his backpack. Then we see a light outside, and we can hear an engine being cranked. I'm screaming, oh my God, there's someone outside! Travis shakes himself awake. Let's see. I'm sorry, I lost my place. So he's shaking himself awake. He's in his boxers. He manages to put his boots on, and the next thing I know, he's dashing out the door.
Ruger in hand.
Yup, in his boxer shorts and boots. And he's half asleep. I grab a flashlight too, and I'm following him. We see a small truck, like a Ford Ranger, at the bottom of the driveway. It looks like the person was trying to turn around. The light I saw must have been headlights. By now, we're seeing taillights. Travis runs down the driveway. The truck hauls ass out of there. Travis is shouting, screaming, waving his gun around at this unknown person. I can't even begin to describe my fear. Here I am, standing on this rickety-ass porch in a satin, like, baby doll nighty thing, while my husband is running down a dirt driveway in his underwear and boots on, waving a gun. I see an axe by the stack of firewood on the porch. I grab it. I'm waving the axe like I'm going to do something, which I'm not. I weighed like 90 pounds at the time, so the axe was almost too heavy for me to even swing around. And then I burst into tears.
Poor thing.
We didn't sleep the rest of the night. We packed up at first light, at my demand, cutting our fake honeymoon shorts. We talk on the ride home, trying to figure out who this person was and why they were peeping in our window. When we get back home, Travis calls his friend and tells him what happened. His friend has no idea who this person can be. He tells Travis that his family owns like 80 acres of property surrounding that cabin, and there are no houses for miles.
Oh my God. So what was the person even doing up through there?
I don't know.
Something probably not cool.
Squatting or something?
Who knows?
Looking back now at the absurdity of the situation, I can chuckle a bit. I have no idea who this person was or why they were at the cabin. I don't know for sure they wanted to axe murder us, but there was an axe on the porch, so I figure if they were going to kill us, it could have been with the axe.
There you go.
Just so you know, we did finally manage to take a real honeymoon to Jamaica just before our first anniversary. I've never wanted to stay in a cabin again, even if it's a bougie cabin. I thought you guys might get tickled from the story because it was so scary. Keep up the good work, Mountain Murders. Jana.
Well, thanks, Jana.
Wow.
Wow. God. All these people creeping around, looking in on people, looking through the doors and stuff.
You've never been peeped?
No, you better not. Don't be peeping on me, dude.
What are you going to do? You going to run out in your underwear?
You'll fuck around and find out.
Please don't wear the orange ones out.
I need more underwear. I guess I'll end with that. They're perfectly fine. The underwears are sound underwear.
Please join us on Patreon so Dylan can buy some new underwear. He has new underwear. I just bought him some not that long ago. You have got other boxer shorts, but he has this one pair that he refuses to get rid of. And they are so fucking raggedy.
They're not that raggedy.
Dude, they need to go.
They're high performance undergarments.
I'm embarrassed that you even own these and that you subject the walls to these underwear.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'll never get rid of my underwear.
We have one more listener story, and this was sent to us by Shella. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And she is a grad student at Florida State.
Well, hi, Shella.
She says, hey there, y'all. Hope you're doing good this weekend. Let's see. She's a grad student at Florida State. She says, I just started listening to your podcast. I love it, by the way. Anyway, this story is from a couple of years ago, so pretty recent. It's a pretty short but wild story to tell y'all about this one time that my neighbor murdered someone in front of my house.
Oh my God.
What the fuck? To set the scene, when I was 18 and first moved out of my parents' house into a new apartment with my best friend and another random roommate, I had no idea that I was moving into one of the worst apartments in Tallahassee. My friend and I thought that because the rent was so cheap, that it would be totally fine if things weren't necessarily perfect, but things, it would seem, were far beyond okay. When we first moved in our apartment, we had a roach infestation. No.
Been infested by roast.
No.
Some potatoes and carrots everywhere.
No, I'll take the roast infestation because I love a good pot roast, but roaches?
No.
No fucking way.
No, and it's bad at apartments or trailer parks and things like that because your neighbors can have them, and then that means you have them.
Yeah, not good.
Not cool.
Our door had a literal giant hole in the bottom. The peephole was a hole with no cover. It smelled awful. There was water damage everywhere. It was just awful.
A peephole with its actual hole in the door with no cover in it, just an open hole. That's fucking awesome.
My best friend and I had so many bad things happen to us in that apartment by the time of the incident that when it happened, it was just like the tip of the iceberg. The whole apartment complex was pretty terrible. It always smelled like weed everywhere you went. Are you sure Dylan doesn't live there?
It's just,
I'm kidding. He wishes he lived there.
No.
Almost all of my neighbors sold drugs. I would walk outside my complex and see a drug deal every damn day. Also, my maintenance men were extremely creepy, always in our apartment for no real reasons, and one literally borderline stalked me and my roommate. She says now to get to the story, and I'm thinking, well, all that's enough to be a fucking horror story in itself.
Yeah.
I have to add that when I first moved in there, I got a puppy. Awesome. He's an Australian Shepherd, high energy, and very, very friendly. He is the reason that I met my next door neighbor / murderer. One day, when I first got my dog, I went outside with him in the backyard behind my apartment. Outside already was a guy, my neighbor, with another puppy, about the age of mine, and he had a larger dog. The larger dog was in heat, and it was extremely aggressive. He laughed it off and pretended to seem like nothing was wrong, which was my first clue that something might have actually been wrong with him, but I laughed it off because I never want bad blood with a neighbor. When we first met, he also told me that he wanted my phone number to hang out sometime, and afraid to be rude because the guy lived next door, I was like, sure, okay, and gave it to him. After that, I saw him outside almost every day, and he would ask me why I hadn't texted him back or wanted to hang out. I always brushed it off and said I was busy. He worked at Walmart and often had his uniform on. He seemed like a nice guy to me and was always very friendly. I would walk my dog past his apartment a lot, and he would always wave. One day, my random roommate, who was another story in herself, we can't wait to hear it, opened the door and accidentally let my dog out into the street. My dog, being the friendliest puppy in the whole world, decided that he was going to run next door directly into my neighbor's living room.
Oh, nice.
I ran inside to get him, and I noticed drugs literally everywhere. I was able to grab Milo, and I apologized and left, but it did freak me out because of the sheer amount of drugs that were right next to me. All right, now to the story of the day that I will never forget. It was summertime when the incident happened, a hot summer day in June. During the summer, I was teaching swim lessons, and on this particular day, I had some evening lessons at 5:30. This entire summer, I would leave my house in nothing but a bathing suit, typically a bikini, because the pool was close to my house. This day, I left my house with no clothes or shoes because I didn't think anything of it. First mistake, LOL. My swim lessons they ended around 7 p.m., and I started on my way back home. Suddenly, my neighbor texts me that I can't get back in because someone was killed in my apartment.
What the fuck?
I drive to my apartment, soaking wet, and the entire thing has yellow police tape and is barricaded by cops. Not knowing what to do, I park my car and go up to an officer. Again, soaking wet and in a bikini, I ask the officer if I can get through because my apartment is literally inside the police tape, and he asked me to point where my apartment was. I pointed to my apartment, and he was like, "There's no way we can let you in because you may contaminate the crime scene." Being in the condition I was, soaking wet with no shoes, I told the officer that A, I had no clothes and nowhere to go, and B, my dog was in his crate inside my apartment and needed to be taken out. The officer talked to his supervisor, and they decided they would escort me over the crime scene to my house. At this point, people are everywhere. Cops all over my house. My neighbors are all outside, all while I'm half naked. So the cop lets me under the tape and walks me around the scene. There are bullet casings everywhere. So bullet casings on the ground.
So she's literally walking through the scene.
Yeah.
Through the crime scene.
All of them are numbered with little yellow markers, and it literally looked like a fucking CSI crime scene from TV. So half naked, I'm stepping over bullet casings and number markers barefoot. Finally, I get to my apartment door, and the cop asks for my information since I had been at the crime scene. So if they found my DNA or something, they could rule me out as a suspect.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Wow.
This poor girl.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm finally in my apartment, and my roommate had seen the entire incident happen. Apparently, right after I had left for swim lessons, my neighbor had gotten into a truck to do a drug deal. Apparently, a girl and the guy in the front seat tried to rob my neighbor at gunpoint. They got the drugs from him and tried to drive off. He jumped out of the car, ran back into his apartment, got his Glock, and shot off a large number of shots into the truck. He immediately killed the driver and hit the girl in the spine.
Oh my God.
The truck drove onto the sidewalk when he died. The girl was taken to the hospital and is still in and out of the hospital today. The driver that was killed was only 19 years old. My neighbor's cars had bullet holes in them. Some of them had been hit by the truck when he lost control when he was killed. The girl was very fortunate that she didn't die. Now, at this point, the cops were called, and my neighbor was tackled, taken into custody. So that's the short version of my neighbor murdering someone in front of my apartment. So glad I never hung out with him or went on any dates. To add, I had seen him that morning when I took my dog out. I had no idea he was capable of cold-blooded murder, but I guess you never know how people are going to react to someone trying to rob them. But he definitely had the choice to let them leave, but decided to run back into his house and kill them. It was a pretty sad thing to hear because he ruined his whole life for this. I think he was only 22. I have no idea what happened to his dogs, and I begged the cops to let me check on them, but they refused. Dicks. Anyway, after that, I was pretty traumatized and was on the edge all the time. Another shooting happened later before I left on the other side of my complex. I moved out the next month and luckily moved into a much safer place. I'm really glad that I left my apartment when I did because I could definitely have been caught in the crossfires. Anyway, thanks so much for reading this, and I hope it makes it onto your show. I just started listening, but you guys are so cute and awesome, and I love every minute of it. Thanks for being so awesome. Sorry this is long, and you're welcome to trim or edit it. No way. Thank you, Shella, for sending that in.
Thanks, Shella.
What
Jesus.
a story!
Can I get a referral to that apartment complex?
Yeah, you would want to live there.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want to live there, but I would want to know where not to get an apartment.
That would be really horrible.
Hey, I mean, shit happens, but obviously that's an extreme version of most things you deal with in, apartment complexes and things. I mean, that's dangerous. I mean, there's no way around it. Living next door to someone who's capable of that type of thing, or if someone comes at them, with the same kind of brutality, shooting and such,
It's
indiscriminately.
really scary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, consider it's their direct next door neighbor. They'd make contact. They're kind of friendly, to a degree. And he tried to get her to come hang out. She could have been hanging out over there when something like this went down.
Well, and I don't want to be a prude or sound like, an old fogey or something, but when I know that my neighbors are selling drugs, it's not that I mind that they're doing it, because I'm like, whatever, do your thing. But I'm always scared that, like, okay, if some shit went down, there could be like a shootout or something dangerous.
Well, I mean, how many stories do you have to hear where it's people who had nothing to do with it, or the ones, a lot of the times injured when something happens, or someone tries to rob someone, which is very common in these types of situations. And there's typically guns around, or at least one, because people want to protect themselves. It's a black market. They can't exactly turn to, the Better Business Bureau or lawyers or the cops for help. So they feel like they got to take care of it them fucking selves. And that whole tough guy image, or, you better not mess with me or else things that some people do. I think that's what got this young man into, he could have just been like shit and got out of there and been more careful, or, went another way of dealing with it than getting a gun and unloading into a parking lot, possibly a crowded parking lot.
Wow, and then shooting this person, and then their vehicle crashes into other parked vehicles. I mean, that could have been a child.
Could have been there. Well,
a person on the sidewalk. I mean,
bullets striking vehicles and things of that nature. That could easily be another person, a kid, all that. So yeah, I mean, how scary is that?
This is really scary.
And then you got to fight your way through the crime scene just to get some dry clothes
while you're standing there in a bikini, wet,
and everybody's outside. Because I mean, who wouldn't be? Who would not be outside?
What a story.
Shit.
These are all great.
That was some good stories.
They really are. We have some awesome listeners.
We have incredible listeners. We love you guys so much.
You guys are fantastic. If you have a listener tale and you would like to email us, mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com. I hope that we're able to have more listener stories. I would like to do plenty more of these episodes.
Oh, yeah, we totally enjoy them. It's almost like we're getting to talk to y'all when we read your stories.
Get a little piece of you.
Get a little piece of you, and we love it. We can't get enough of it.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we'll have a great, I keep using that word, but it's late, and I don't have a thesaurus. We have a great true crime case coming up.
Oh, I've got to say, Jennifer, this was recommended to us around our 100th episode. We were looking for some big stories. Ended up on Sam Little, which was a great story. But I tell you, Heather was explaining it to me today, this entire case. And thank you so much for the recommendation, Jennifer. It's been a great...
Jennifer is one of our amazing patrons.
Yes.
We love Jennifer. She hails from the Knoxville, Tennessee area.
Yeah, she's awesome. And this was a really good case.
We're going to make a date to go to Knoxville because I love the record store there. And we're going to hook up with Jennifer and buy her a water or something.
Yeah. Okay. So, yes, an incredible story coming up.
Yeah, episode 105 is going to be amazing. Make sure you check it out. Thanks so much, guys. See you later.